This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 915 of Horse Tip Daily. A different horse tip, a different equine topic, a different equestrian expert every day. Horse Tip Daily brings the world of equine knowledge to you, one day at a time. Greetings, horse people. Coach Jen here, and thanks for tuning in to Horse Tip Daily. Today's tip is from the Dressage Radio Show. Co-hosts Reese Kofler-Stanfield and Philip Parks answer a listener question about knowing when you and your horse just are not a good fit, and it's time to break up. And we'll get right to our tip after this message from EquestrianCollections.com.
Hi, Glenn here from the Horse Radio Network, and I'm back with Debbie from Equestrian Collections with the Equestrian Collections Product of the Week.
This week I'm going to be featuring the Micklem bridle. It comes in two types, the Micklem Competition and the multi-bridle. The competition bridle is the one I'm going to mostly talk about today. You can use it in showing, but the main thing I want to talk about is the fact that this is a very equine-friendly bridle. The entire design is put together for the horse's benefit and comfort. The top of the bridle, the poll area, is it's wider and it's designed to take pressure off the poll. It's a little bit lower on the cheeks, so it takes the pressure off of that area right underneath the eyes where some of the nerve points come out. And it also is like a crank noseband, but it's not so low, so you don't actually, a lot of times when you crank down a noseband, there's some nerves down there that your horse's muzzle completely gets numb, and
Yep.
You can almost always tell that when you take your bridle off. If your horse is scratching his nose on his leg, it's because he's just now getting feeling back into his nose. It also will protect the little pointy, I'm sure all of your listeners have seen skulls, horse skulls, the little fragile nose bones, the little pointy ones at the top. It protects those. And you can also use it without the bit, or you can use it with the bit. So it's very, very multi-use. The competition one is approved. It also now comes in black. So that's made a whole new life for Micklem's been around a while, but it's a whole new life for these because now it comes in black, so you can use it on your with your black dressage tack. The multi-purpose one has a little ring so you can lunge. So there's a lot of different things you can use with this bridle. It's less than $200, and you get several different types of bridles out of it. And you will really be doing your horse a big favor. When you buy this bridle, it comes with this information packet, a lot of information about how and why to use it. Highly recommend it. Everybody here is getting one.
And I'll tell you what, we had William Micklem on the show on Horses in the Morning last week. It was on January the 4th. We had him on talking about the bridle and why it was so good. He was at the American Equestrian Trade Association show. We got to interview him in person. And then we had him on the following day talking about his breeding program of some of the most famous event horses in the world. So you can find that all over at horsesinthemorning.com as well. But you can buy the bridle, more importantly, at EquestrianCollections.com. Just search for Micklem, Micklem, at EquestrianCollections.com.
Well, this is a listener question from Vera that we have been trying to answer for the last month. So I'm glad we're going to get some time. This is a great question. And Philip, can you read the question for us?
Okay. Actually, I was talking to Vera at a show last summer, and she discussed this topic with me. And you know what? It just kind of, I was, I was in show mode, and then I totally kind of forgot about it. And I'm so glad that she wrote it. The question is how to decide that the horse-rider combination is not compatible. When is the line between you should try harder and this will never work out? Where's the line between those two things? How to prevent oneself from sinking into I am no good as a rider, and it's, when we talk about That's the question. So I'll just get a little bit to it here.
Yeah, no, go for it.
Sorry.
Yeah.
But I know that we talk a lot as trainers about, we should always kind of blame the rider for all the problems. But I think Vera makes a good point that sometimes the combination is not all that compatible. So I guess we should just kind of discuss this a little bit. What are our thoughts on it, and maybe you can get us started, get us going here, Reese.
Sure. I mean, I think this is a great question, and this does happen. Absolutely. It happens not only with horses. I mean, there's a lot of different components to the horses. There's your barn and your facility and your staff and the trainer and the rider. And, there are times, and I like to bring this back to thinking about when you were in school. There's times where you don't like a school that you go to. You just don't. And I can't imagine that horses and or riders don't feel the same way. So I think when you start thinking about it that way, there's a lot of things when a horse and rider combination look like they're not working. There's a lot of things you got to step back and you've got to evaluate, because sometimes it is the horse just doesn't like the rider. I have had that happen where I have had absolutely no trouble with the horse. I've put other people on the horse and the owner comes to ride the horse and the horse pins its ears and it's very obvious that horse does not like that rider. It doesn't happen often, but it does happen. And I think sometimes, you have to evaluate why maybe does that horse not like that rider? Is it something that we can fix? For example, is it the rider's, I don't know, just an example, bumpy hands or bumpy seat? Or does the horse not like, if the horse is a real kind of lazy horse, does it not like its type A rider? Or so there's a lot of different factors there on why people aren't compatible with horses. When I have that situation happen, I always check the tack. Does the saddle fit? Are they getting pinched? You've got to check all of those things. Has the horse seen the vet? Does that rider take enough time to bond with that horse? I think sometimes that's something that doesn't happen. You don't spend some extra time with the horse. So sometimes that'll help if you bond. I've had horse and rider combinations where I've had to think out of the box and bring in, we have the Lexington Mounted Police, and they come in and they do different exercises working with horse and rider from the ground, desensitization and lots of different things. So sometimes I'll bring them in and see if that kind of changes it up when the rider has to do something different with the horse. And so that's kind of my thing, Phil. I mean, I think that there's a lot of times when that's happening that you really have to stop and evaluate, or does the horse not like the facility, or does the horse not like the amount of turnout, or, sometimes you got to switch it up a little to see what's happening. And I think sometimes though, it's just like a marriage. Sometimes it just isn't gonna work. And I think that after you sort of exhausted all of that and maybe tried a trainer, maybe two trainers, maybe then it is time maybe to sell that horse and move on for the horse and for the rider. What do you think, Phil?
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. I like it. Horses have personalities, and people have personalities, and sometimes they just clash. It doesn't mean that the rider is terrible or that the horse is terrible. It's just something that happens. I think if it's a problem that's newly developed, I think you have to look for the if it's symptoms of an issue. But otherwise, then you have to have a really good discussion with your trainer, because they're your eyes on the ground and are there to guide you and have ideas and But if you're feeling this way and you're not discussing it with anyone, that's a bit of a problem, right? So I think you can't always put all the blame on yourself. For sometimes these issues and these problems, and that maybe the horse would be happier and you would be happier if the horse was with a different rider.
Yeah. And I think it's okay. I think it's okay. I mean, I think some people, it's really devastating, and I've had horses that have come in for training that I've had to say, listen, maybe try another rider or two on them, thinking maybe.
Yeah.
So even as trainers, sometimes we get horses in that just aren't going to work in the program. Sometimes I get clients in that aren't going to work in the program, and I'm not working for them either. And I think as I've gotten maybe more mature in my training, I've recognized that. I've learned that doesn't mean I'm a bad trainer. It doesn't mean that the person's a bad person or horse is bad. It's just maybe not the right chemistry or the right combination. And, then certainly we try to do as much as we can to eliminate that. But, I think sometimes that can happen. So to step back, and it's nobody's fault. It's nobody trying to do anything. It's just not the right match. So
yeah, I mean, if you say to yourself, given enough time and given a really good effort, and you're having an open dialogue with your trainer about this, maybe they can, maybe the trainer can suggest a clinic to go to say, you know what, we need some ideas, we need some different input. That's why there is a family, a group of trainers that, like I could talk to Reese about a particular problem and saying like, this is kind of what's going on. Reese, what do you think about this? Or, that you can look at a horse and rider combination for me and say, is this really not working? Just to get a third party perspective, to get to kind of, give an idea about what's, what could help and when it is time to kind of move on and break up, as it were, between horse and rider, and do your best to find that horse a person or a job. Sometimes horses don't like dressage.
Yeah.
Right.
Or don't like jumping. I mean,
or don't like jumping, I think we have to be responsible enough to think about the health and mental welfare of the horse to find the right training or the right job, or that everybody's going to be happy. And so, I think if you're talking about, years of having this kind of issue, that's way, way, way too long, and nobody's having a great time. So I think, you got to figure these things out within the span of months to get things on the right track,
Exactly.
Not spin your tires too long and waste a lot of time and a lot of money too. It's not cheap,
absolutely.
Right?
No, it's not cheap.
It's not cheap to be getting lessons and lessons and nothing's going anywhere and everybody's frustrated. Creative ideas, try and figure it out, different perspectives. Yeah, do your best to make everybody happy, And
then I think that sort of moves us into the second part of that question, which is kind of, when do you know, that maybe this horse, it's not, that it's too hard, or it's not just the rider. And I think that there does become a point with some horses where it maybe is too hard. It's just like, I can train and train and train, but I am not going to be an Olympic sprinter. It's
Right.
just not going to happen. I mean, I could attempt it, and I
Right.
could train really hard, but I am not going to make it to the Olympics as a runner. If anybody see me run, I'm just not. And I think that I always approach it with my students to think about, athletes. You've got your elementary school athlete, then you have your middle school athlete, then you have your high school athlete, your college athlete, your pro athlete, and then your elite pro, which is the Olympic team athlete. And, I played basketball in middle school. I was not good enough to play basketball in high school, and I think it's the same with horses. You really have to say, okay, I think there's natural progressions in training. Can I get this horse to second level? Can I get this horse to fourth level? Will this horse be an FEI horse?
Right. Right.
And I think there's just times where the horse, and it's not bad. It's just, what is the limit of that horse, and when does it become, pushing that horse physically over what they're capable of doing. And,
Right.
when I hung up my basketball career, I hung up my basketball career because I knew that I wasn't going to be able to do it.
Yeah.
Or without massive training and and it wasn't fun for me anymore. I wanted to ride horses.
Exactly. When every little thing becomes this huge effort, then it's not that much fun for horse or rider. So
Yeah.
be creative, try and figure it out. And again, seek a professional for lots of advice, because we don't all have the right answers, but we try and figure it out and try a few different things and get a couple of opinions. It's great that you send your question in to us and we can give you a little bit of information and a little bit what we think. There's a lot of avenues now, right? With
Absolutely. And I think the other thing that we haven't mentioned is listen to your horse. Listen to your horse. If you listen to them, they will tell you. I think sometimes we get blocked with our own dreams and ambitions. And, oh, I just need one more score. And the horse says, I just can't do it. Or whatever. I think if you really listen to your horse, they'll tell you what they can do and what they can't do. And a lot of evaluation and training. And like I said, sometimes trainers, I'll call Philip when I have an issue and I'll send him a video and say, hey, what do you think? And, there's, again, lots of avenues. But at the end of the day, think about it as horses are athletes, we're athletes. And, it's like as an athlete, if you want to step it up to the pre-St. George level, there is a level of fitness and commitment that you have to do and all that good stuff. And it's the same for the horses. But they aren't out there for fun sometimes. Sometimes they're out there because we're asking them to, and they're good souls and they do it. So that's sort of my 2 cents.
Hopefully, hopefully, Vera, that helps you answer your question, or anybody else that's kind of in that kind of situation. You can, you got to be creative sometimes, I think.
Yeah. And if we can always, send your listener questions. We love these. This is a great topic to discuss, and we love any time we can to help.
Yeah,
so
and we've had listeners send us video, and we've kind of looked at video and try to give our little, our best opinion on what's going on in the video. So that's also another option. With all this great technology, we can really stay in touch and stay close and talk about this stuff.
Well, there you go. If you enjoyed Reese and Philip chatting about all things dressage, you can tune in every week at dressageradio.com. And you can also find lots more tips on topics ranging from barn care to websites for horse people at horsetipdaily.com. Just look for the topics drop-down menu on the left. And you can have every single one of your favorite Horse Radio Network shows with you wherever you go with our new free app for iPhone and Android. Just go to your app store and search Horse Radio Network. And don't forget to support our sponsors here on Horse Tip Daily because they make these podcasts possible. Today's podcast has been brought to you through the generous support of EquestrianCollections.com. And don't forget, EquestrianCollections.com can ship internationally through its innovative Bongo program. Check them out, EquestrianCollections.com. The Horse Radio Network and the Horse Radio Network hosts are not responsible for statements of guests or their opinions. Use your own judgment when listening to the tips provided by the experts on Horse Tip Daily.